In this video, we're going to do a tutorial on a break of structure, a BOS. So we're looking at the chart right here, and we're going to do this on a diagram like this, but then we're going to actually jump to a bunch of examples and label some real price charts. So it's one thing to be able to label it on a diagram like this, which is great for definitions and for first learning, but we really want to practice this and actually look at some real charts. So a break of structure, a BOS, what it means is trend continuation. So in the market, we have an uptrend and we have a downtrend. So on this diagram here, we have the basics of market structure. We have a higher high, which is HH, higher low, HL, and then a lower high, LH, and a lower low, LL. So a break of structure happens both in an uptrend and in a downtrend. So it means trend continuation. So if we were to kind of zoom into this area here, we can see price rises up into this area, and we call this a higher high, and then it retraces into our first higher low. So it's a low, and then we travel up and we make another higher high. So we have our first break of structure when price travels right here, and when it closes candles above the previous high, we have a break of structure. So we have trend continuation to the upside. And then price travels up here to the next higher high, and we roll over and we travel down to the next higher low. And now as we travel back up here, and when we come back up here and we break to the upside and we close candles above the previous high, that is another break of structure to the upside. It's a signal of trend continuation. And then what happens is we come up to another higher high, we make a higher low, but here we make our first lower high. So we don't get a break of structure here. We have no sort of trend continuation, and it's a slight warning sign that maybe the market structure is weakening a little bit. Maybe things are going to cool off, consolidate, or even sort of trend downwards. So we make a lower high. As price travels down towards this area, we make a lower low, and we actually make what's called a change of character right here. Now for this video, we're not going to discuss changes of character. We will discuss that in the next video right after this one. But just for labeling and staying consistent, we have a change of character right here, and then we make a lower low. And then price comes back up and it makes a lower high. And as price travels down now, as we close candles below the previous low, that is a break of structure to the downside. So now we have sort of a new trend, and we are continuing this trend downwards. We are breaking the structure to the downside, and that is a BOS. When candles close below this previous low, we have a break of structure to the downside. We make a lower low, and we come up, we make a lower high. So we are in a downtrend, lower highs, and then we make another BOS when price travels and closes candles below the previous low. So now we have a BOS to the downside. So breaks of structures, they can happen in an uptrend, that means trend continuation, and they can happen in a downtrend, it means trend continuation to the downtrend. Now, an important thing to note is it's important where the candles close in relation to the prior candles. So whenever you're looking at the present day candle, you want to look back to the previous candle, and when a candle closes above the high of the last candle, which is the wick, then that is a break of structure, and that is a BOS to the upside. So in this situation, this candle, it's green, it opened here, and it closed here. During the week, if these are weekly candles, it went all the way down to the bottom of this wick, and the highest price was the top of this wick, but it closed at the top of this green candle. So because this candle closed above the previous high of this candle, we have a break of structure to the upside. So we always want to look at where the present day candle closes in relation to the wicks on the prior candles. And in this scenario, if we were to look at a downtrend, we have a red candle here. So it opened here and it closed negative. So sellers won this week. The highest point was the top of the wick, and the lowest point was the bottom of this wick. So for a downtrend, because this candle closes below the prior wick, that is where we have a break of structure to the downside. So this is really important to understand. This candle closes down here. It's a red candle. So it opened here, it closed here, and it closed below the previous low, which was the wick of this candle. Therefore, we have a BOS to the downside. We have a break of structure to the downside. Here we have a break of structure to the upside. So it's really important to understand that concept. So let's jump down to some charts, and we can actually label these in some real charts. So I've gone ahead and charted a few of these for an example. And the first one here, we're just looking at AMD back in 2021. So in this diagram, you can see that things aren't as simple as, a basic triangle up and down. Those are good for the definitions, but you really want to come here and you really want to practice doing these labels yourself. So actually the best thing for you to do is when you go through and label some of these, if you want feedback, you can actually come to our free Stock Trading for Beginners group. There's a link in the description below this video. You can come and join this group for free. You can post your charts, you can get feedback. In the classroom section, we actually have a full trading course that goes into the full strategy that we talk about on this channel. So you can find a link below in the description. The best thing to do, like anything, learning anything, is really practicing yourself. So here, let's label some breaks of structures on the AMD chart. So we have a higher high, and then in this area, we have a low. So we have a high, we have a low. And if we kind of zoom in here, we can see that when these candles close above the previous high, so the highest wick in this high zone, that is a break of structure. So right there, when this green candle closed right there, we have a BOS. So this candle did not make the BOS. This middle one made the break of structure. So we have a break of structure to the upside, and this area is your new higher high. And then price comes down to this area, and it's a higher low. And it's a higher low because if you look at all these candles, none of them closed below the prior lower high. So if we get a ruler out here, a horizontal line, we can see the lowest point was right there. And you can see that all of these candles closed above this previous low. Therefore, it is a higher low. It's not a lower low. These candles wick down, but that they did not close below the prior low. It is a higher low, and market structure is maintained. So from this area, we're going to keep our labeling quite clean. So we're not going to label too much here. We've just gone and labeled a lot of the external highs and lows. So as price travels back up here and we have a big green bullish candle that closes above this wick, we have another break of structure to the upside right here, a BOS. And that is a break of structure to the upside, trend continuation. And we go and we make a higher high, we make a higher low, and another green bearish candle closes above the previous high, the high wick from this area. We have another BOS right here. So we make a break of structure and we come up to a higher high. And then in this area, we can label perhaps this area as a low and this area as a lower high. You might want to group all these candles together. It's really dependent on what type of labeling you want to do. People do technical analysis a little bit differently. For this example, we'll call this a low, and then we'll call this a lower high. And then what we have right here is we'll have a change of character because we start making lower lows. We no longer maintain our higher lows. The trend actually changes right in this area. And again, we're going to talk about changes of characters in the next video, which you can find a link below this one. But right in this area, we make a change of character. When these candles close below the previous low, we have a change of character to the downside, and then we make a lower low. So the character here was bullish. We made breaks of structures to the upside. The trend was bullish, but the market structure changed in this area. We had a change of character where we're no longer making higher lows. We make a lower low, and when this area right here, when this candle's close below the previous higher low, we have a change of character. And we also, right around that exact same area, make a change of character from this higher low here, which is associated with this last break of structure up. So it's right around the same area where this change of character is right there as well. And that is your official change of character right in that area. And then, the trend changes. It changes. We make a lower low and we have a higher low. And now, because we're in a downtrend, we start making breaks of structures to the downside. So we can call a BOS right here. So now, as this red candle closes below the previous low point in this lower low, which is that wick, we make a BOS to the downside, we make a lower low, and then price comes up, we make a lower high. And what do we have right here? We have another break of structure to the downside, BOS to the downside, and we travel all the way down to a lower low. And then price comes up to a lower high. But what happens here, this is our first sort of trend change potential signal. We no longer make a BOS to the downside, we make a higher low. So this low, it's higher than this low. And now we start closing candles above the previous high. So what we have right here is we actually have what's called a change of character. We are no longer in a downtrend, we have a change of character. And again, we're going to talk more specifically about this change of character. Then we make a higher high, or we make a higher low. And this green bearish or bullish candle closing above the previous wicks, now we have a break of structure to the upside. Now we're doing trend continuation with this new trend. We've changed the character here. We make a break of structure to the upside. And we also have a break of structure right here, a BOS right here. And we continue on to make our higher high, trend continuation to the next higher high. Now, there's an important note with another change of character. So this lower high, which is associated with the last break of structure to the downside, that's an important high to close above. And right in this area right there, that's where we have what's called an official change of character. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the difference between this change of character and this change of character. Before this break of structure demo, we can just leave it at that. And there we've made our higher high. So the change of character happened here. We made breaks of structures to the upside. Here we had a change of character, and now we're making BOSs to the downside. Trend continuation, and we had trend continuation up in this area. So let's jump over and just view a couple other examples before we wrap up this video. So here is the peak of a stock roadblocks, and we can see that we made a higher high right here with this wick. And if you analyze all these weekly candles, so we're on a weekly chart here, you'll notice that none of these candles actually close above this wick. So we don't have any break of structure to the upside. These candles closed above these wicks, but not above this one. So we don't have any trend continuation. We make a high, and then in this example, we come up and we actually hit what's called a resistance zone. So this is a fib, a previous high. If we scroll out, we can see that this was a high in the past, and Roblox came up and hit that high. This is resistance. We don't want to buy in this area, and we never made a break structure to the upside. And then the change of character happened, and we had a trend change. Also, for this particular example, this is a stock AVAV. We can see that we have a break of structure right here when this candle closes above this previous higher high. We make a break of structure to the upside to the next higher high. We make a higher low, but you'll notice that these candles don't close above these wicks. So this candle closes right here. It's actually the highest candle close, but it didn't close above these wicks. Therefore, there's no break of structure in this area. It's a lower high, and the trend changes right around this area. So This would not be a break of structure. If you labeled that a break of structure, it's not a real one. There is no higher high in this area. You should be cautious with closes like this. Other examples, similarly, we've got a break of structure here. We've got a high, and we have a bullish candle that closes above this wick to a higher high. And if we zoom in this area, you can see that this candle doesn't close above this wick. And then this candle, although it wicks up here, it closes down here because it's red. So this is not a higher high. There's no break of structure to the upside. This is a lower high and a slight warning. And then we have a change of character in this area. So be careful with labeling your breaks of structures. We always want the candle to close above the wick of the prior high. So it's really important to do that. We can see here with an example with Apple as well. We have a higher high, we have a higher low, and then here we make a lower high. So this candle, although it wicks higher than this one, we don't close candles above this prior wick. So it's a slight warning sign, and we come down, we make a slight change of character in and around this area. And this candle is the one that breaks the structure of this previous higher high and of this lower high right here. So officially, if you want to label your break of structure from this previous higher high, it's right here. So that is your BOS from this previous higher high. That is the important candle to let us know that we are officially continuing higher. We've broken the structure here from this, consolidation and slight loss of momentum. This is the candle to let us know that we are continuing higher right there. And in this area, we actually make a slight change of character, but it's not an official one. So in the next video, which I'll include below this one, we're going to talk about the changes of character, and we're going to talk about why this particular one right here, which is a change of character, but it's sometimes referred to a fake out or an unofficial change of character, which we see in this example. We make this change of character, but the stock actually continues higher and breaks structure and continues upward. So in the next video, we're going to talk about changes of character and why some are considered a fake out and when they are actually considered an official change of character. So I hope that you found this video useful. On the screen right now, you can find that other change of character video, as well as in the description. You can come and join our free trading community on School. You can come and post your charts, share your analysis, get feedback, and find a full strategy course as well. So I will talk with you in the next video.